සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර තුනකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Making headlines on First at 9. Brushing off allegations. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe insists that the country is free and democratic, irrespective of allegations which say otherwise. Discussion table. Minister of Health extends an invitation to Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivajalingam and a team for talks.
So I call upon even Sivaji and all other crowds to join the mainstream and sit with us.
Ever-widening gap. The joint opposition concerned with the increasing debt to GDP ratio.
Present government has accumulated and taken additional loans, and as a result now the debt GDP ratio has gone up to 85%.
Not enough. Tourism Development Authority laments insufficient investments in the industry.
We need to increase the speed, unless otherwise the investor come to the country may not bring the investment into the ground.
A diva's end. Iconic songstress Aretha Franklin passes away. A very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9 on Adadarana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katrina Chang. Now moving on to our top story tonight. Minister of Health Dr. Rajda Senaratne invites Northern Province politicians who disagree with the government's democratic path to join in for discussions. Addressing an event held in Jaffna today, the Health Minister also went on to emphasize that all political parties must come together to find a definitive solution for pressing ethnic issues of the country. The event to declare open a 3-story building at the teaching hospital in Jaffna was held under patronage of Minister of Health Dr. Rajda Senaratne today. The building consists of a branch of the government pharmaceutical unit and hostel for nurses. Health Ministry also handed over 200 million rupees worth medical equipment for the facility. Health Minister then participated in the event to lay the foundation stone for a rehabilitation centre for former LTTE members. The construction project is a 530 million rupee project funded by Kuwait.
In the present governments believe that all the rights of the Tamil people, all the rights of the northern people must be granted. Then how to pursue this matter? Already we have actually given you all the freedom, the rights, the independence to do your activities in the northern province. Now whenever I see in the TV that there is a demonstration asking for more rights for the Tamil people in the northern province, I am one of the happiest people, because after 30 years we have got the right to do that. But without any disruption, even the police looking at you all, the Sivajalingam can do anything in the northern province with all his friends and demand everything under the sun for the Tamil people. It is the 21st century. It's a time to discuss, argue and to come to solutions and implement them. So I call upon even Sivaji and all other crowds to join the mainstream and sit with us, strengthen us to give the solution to other people. We are discussing at the moment in Parliament. All the parties are at least at the conference table, they agree for a final solution to the ethnic question in this country and for a new constitution. Give the correct devolutionary powers for a better election systems. Working out those things are not so easy as we see, but that we understand. But if we all get together, then we can pursue these things.
Adadarana witnessed today that the ongoing bus strike did not pose a hindrance in the day-to-day activities of the public, despite 6 trade unions, including the All Island Private Bus Workers Association, spearheading the move. The unions protested against the recently hiked fines in relation to traffic law violations. Meanwhile, Minister of Transport Nima Siripala De Silva emphasised that newly introduced traffic fines will not be changed under any circumstances. Fines relating to traffic law violations were increased on the 15th of July this year in a bid to control reckless driving, which resulted in accidents and deaths. It was against these newly hiked fines that the strike was organised by the All Ireland Private Bus Workers Association. 6 other trade unions also joined in support of the strike. However, the strike did not hinder day-to-day activities of the public, as many buses were seen providing services as usual. The All Ireland Bus Owners Association and Inter-Province Bus Owners Association, however, did not support the strike. It was in this backdrop that Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva emphasised that newly introduced fines will not be changed for any reason.
We are not in a position to publish or withdraw gazette papers as per their demands. If we do that, anyone can always ask us to also revise laws for rape, theft or murder. These are laws of the country. There were even incidents of violence reported because of this issue in Kandy, where stones had been thrown at private buses. I have asked the IGP to take stern action against those who are responsible with regard to traffic law violations. All we are asking is for them to be patient for 2 months, and if they don't get a solution even after the report we are waiting for, they can do whatever they like, because we won't assault or kidnap anyone using white vans. But then they might get their share of thrashing from the public.
Media spokesperson of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Mahinda Samarasinha, says that if there are unfavourable issues mentioned in the free trade agreement with Singapore, they can be amended with 1 year after signing it. He said this addressing a media briefing held at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters today.
Sri Lanka Singapore.
President Maithripala Sirisena appointed an expert committee to look into the Singapore-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, and they will hand over a report in 2 months' time. When the Prime Minister of Singapore engaged in a state visit in Sri Lanka recently, he mentioned that changes can be done to this agreement within 1 year of signing it. I asked Minister Malik Samaravikrama this morning, and he told me that it is. There are some agreements which require parliamentary majority, but there is no such necessity for an FTA. This is not a game played by Minister Samaravikrama. This was presented with the approval of the cabinet. I don't approve attacking one minister. Any parliamentarian can take such a decision at any time. The moment I tell my decision to the party, they can cancel my membership and remove me from the parliamentary seat. If anyone is planning to take the post of leader of opposition after being independent, they can't do that either. The stance of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is that it should be held under the new system. The party leaders have taken a decision to present the delimitation report in Parliament on the 24th of this month.
UPFA parliamentarian NSB Disanayake says the free trade agreement with Singapore has resulted in the destruction of local manufacturers. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo, he further revealed that a loss is incurred to the government when the new digitalised driving licence is issued.
The Motor Traffic Department charges 1,340 rupees for a digitalised licence. It only costs 250 rupees to prepare a licence, and it is evident that someone steals around 500 rupees from each. The Cabinet doesn't know this. The Prime Minister and Minister Malik Samaravikrama tells Minister Nimal Siripala to postpone this from being handed over to us through the BOT system. A loss of around 1 million rupees is incurred, and according to the trade unions, the profits are divided among many parties. This is the principle of the United National Party. We represent the Parliament from the United People's Freedom Alliance and not the SLFP. However, One can argue before court the agreement the SLFP signed with the UNP is also applicable to the UPFA. Whatever their arguments may be, 70 parliamentarians of the SLFP sit in the opposition with the permission of the SLFP's leader.
Sri Lanka Nidas Pakshe නායකයාගේ අවසරය අරගෙන ගිහින්.
අපි මේ එළියට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
We went to the opposition with the permission of the party leader. We discussed in length even last night about leaving the party. Do you know what happens when the decision of this committee is released? The entire UPFA will leave the government. And when it is released, there won't be anyone from the UPFA to contest the post of opposition leader, but only the UNP.
State Minister of Power and Renewable Energy, Ajit P. Pereira, says that within the past 3 years, the government was able to uphold the rights of citizens and provide freedom of speech. The State Minister also went on to say that unlike the previous government, they are prepared to share success of mega projects with the past two governments who have played a role in its making. He expressed these views to journalists at a media briefing held in Sirikota today.
By passing the 19th Amendment to the Constitution within a span of 3 years, we were able to make access for information a fundamental right. In the past, Lasantha Wickramatunge was murdered. Upali Tennakoon received death threats. Then UNP parliamentarian Karu Jayasuriya was able to speak to then President Mahinda Rajapaksa and save Keith Noyer from the brink of death. We can proudly say that we were able to provide media freedom, freedom of state employees and bring about justice. The construction of the Southern Expressway was an initiative that took 3 governments to materialize. The Hambantota Matra Expressway project, which was commenced by Mahinda Rajapaksa, will be concluded within a year and we believe we can open it by then. Even though Mahinda Rajapaksa did not give any credit to former President Chandrika Kumaratunga when it was completed, we are prepared to share the credit of the completion of the Hambantota Matra with all 3 parties. Do not expect that mega projects such as these can be completed within 3 years. The people know that they will not be assaulted, kidnapped or shot by the STF or police if they protest. By giving this freedom, there are individuals who use this to fulfill their own agendas. Behind these protests is the joint opposition who are traitors and anti-government.
UPFA parliamentarian and member of the joint opposition Shehan Semasinghe accuses the government of borrowing additional foreign loans, resulting the debt to GDP ratio of the country to increase up to 85%. Addressing a media briefing, the parliamentarian also said that the government has accumulated an additional 4.5 trillion rupees of debt during the last 3 years alone. Meanwhile, UPFA parliamentarian Tharaka Balasuriya expressed his views against the current taxation policies of the government.
We see that the 2 major problems in this country, the lack of vision and the taxation policies. The taxation policies conducted by this government have been superimposed by the IMF. It is an act which has been recommended to Ghana, and the word Ghana has been deleted and pasted with Sri Lanka and then has been passed in our parliament. This government spends money on 640,000 luxury shares. The president, when he came to power, bought 2 Maybach luxury vehicles, and another 200,000 rupees has been allocated to all the government MPs by a backdoor channel. So we ask this government, if they are unable to have proper governance to bring law and order, prosperity to its people, that it is time to go.
I would like to remind the Prime Minister, at the time of him taking over the government from President Rajapaksa, the GDP debt ratio was 70.7. But present government has accumulated and taken additional loans, and as a result now the debt GDP ratio has gone up to 85%. After going to 85%, the Prime Minister is now proudly saying that I am trying to bring it down to 70. So these are fairy tales told by the President as well as the Prime Minister over the last 4 years. As at now, the amount of debts have gone up to 11.5 trillions, including the panda bonds issued by the Chinese government. This is the first time where another government is issuing bonds on behalf of another country. The present government, for the 3.5 years, has borrowed an additional 4.5 trillion rupees as against 5 trillion borrowed by the previous regime. But with that 5 trillion, people can see the tangible assets included into the Sri Lankan government.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that although the government is accused of carrying out development work at a slow pace, it was able to complete a large number of mega development projects. He said this addressing an event held to hand over 4,200 land deeds to residents in Ratnapura as per the government's promise to hand over 100,000 land deeds for the needy.
Upon thought, I can say that the past 3 years were not easy, but people could breathe freely, although everything we did is not tangible. First of all, we established democracy through reducing the term of the president. We increased the powers of parliament and established a number of independent commissions. Even we are accountable before courts. Have a look at media today. Can you find a single privately owned media institution which does not attack me? Moreover, we were stuck in a huge debt trap. We are committed to reducing the debt to 78% of the GDP by 2020. None of us like to increase VAT, but we had to do that. We went for a local authorities election with difficulty and was defeated. We had to take measures that are not popular, but we saved the country. Today, we have the strength to pay off debt. We are not a bankrupt nation. Thus, we are able to increase the GDP by 14% and increase foreign reserves to $8.5 billion. It's during our tenure that Sri Lanka got highest export earnings, which is $11.4 billion. We will also strike an agreement with the IMF by the end of this year. We're going to include Ratnapura to the collection of developed cities. Now, the Hambantota port is functioning for the first time and the Matala airport will be active with the collaboration of our government and the Indian government. Sabaragamuwa province will reap the benefits of those actions. That's the mega development we achieved. You may not feel it, but we did it.
Government Medical Officers Association raises concerns over the attempts by non-governmental organizations to dissolve the Sri Lanka Medical Council without a fundamental basis. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, the secretary of the association is of the view that NGOs are in the process of achieving their target by making a theory called anti-establishment theory, which demolishes well-established institutions in the world.
Attempts by certain group of people led by some NGO people who are attempting to dissolve the Sri Lanka Medical Council without any fundamental basis, and the health minister's role in helping those NGO people to dissolve the SLMC and thereby establish a theory which is called anti-establishment theory, where the so-called established institutions will be demolished and the systems will be no longer be there after this anti-establishment theory is established. What is been happening in Sri Lanka at the moment is the same, and these NGO people with this so-called civil society is attempting to destruct the health sector by dissolving the SLMC, and they are suggesting a proposal to amend the medical ordinance and change the composition of the Sri Lanka Medical Council. What we feel is that if the medical ordinance is old and it needs the amendments, we are ready to help the ministry and go with the amendments. And after considering the needs of the patient, you should only go for it. Otherwise, this so-called NGO people with the ulterior motives will have the benefit by destroying the health system of this country and thereby establish these theories against the people.
Minister of Youth Affairs Sagar Ratnayake emphasizes the need for youth exchange programs among neighbouring countries to promote global peace. He was speaking at an event where he met 15 Indian youth who visited Sri Lanka under the Indo-Sri Lanka Youth Exchange Program. Under the Youth Exchange Program, which started in 2003, a team of Indian youths visited Sri Lanka for several days and toured around the country to have a sound understanding of the cultural and social similarities and differences between the two countries.
The exchange of youth is something that the youth ministry, the youth program in Sri Lanka cherishes, because it's through that we exchange our experiences. We had difficulty connecting for a long time during the 30-year war that we had. After the war and the peace time started, we've concentrated a lot on youth exchange programs within the country. The government takes the initiative on a few occasions, and the largest of them is called the Yaun Puraya. They come out of this 1 week with such tremendous friendships and connections that they cherish for the rest of their lives. Or we've been doing that, and we want to grow upon that internationally as well. And especially India, because you're our neighbor. We share similar cultural values, religious values, and we share similar problems as well.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Adavarana 24/7.
The Tourism Development Authority points out that the total investments brought to the tourism industry during the last couple of years are not sufficient to achieve the target of doubling the number of tourists in the country. Speaking at an event in the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the Tourism Development Authority and the Urban Development Authority, Director General of the Tourism Authority, Upali Ratnayaka, warned that unless adequate investment is brought to Sri Lankan tourism, the existing investors might find it difficult to continue. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority and the Urban Development Authority signed a Memorandum of Understanding to enhance cooperation between two agencies to reduce time and cost for investors, both foreign and domestic, by streamlining the Tourism Development Authority and the Urban Development Authority investment approval process.
We have been working with many plans. Among them, recently it was announced the Tourism Strategic Plan. As per the government decision, with a cabinet approval, the Tourism Strategic Plan given us a specific target to achieve by 2020 during a period of 4 years, in which the increase of tourism arrival to a 4.5 million from the existing level, almost doubling, and also the foreign direct investment, very important, and targeting to the $3 billion totaling, and also the employment generation, both direct and indirect, doubling the current figure of 500,000. And also the allowing opportunities for the link industries is also looked at, and foreign exchange earning, which is the most important thing, into the Sri Lankan economy. To accommodate all these requirements, number one requirement is how do we accommodate the tourists. The current capacity of almost 38,000 room capacity going up to 80,000, we need to accommodate 4.5 tourists coming to the country in 2020. And during the last couple of years, we received about 604 projects, and also from the 600, about 326 approved, and also the total investment brought during this period about 3 billion, which is not sufficient. Now we have a target of doubling. We need to increase the speed, unless otherwise the investor come to the country and also to our door may not bring the investment into the ground level.
Emirates has announced that it will suspend flights EK348 and EK349, which currently operate between Singapore and Colombo. Issuing a communique, the company said that the decision was made after a periodic review of their operations to ensure the best utilization of the aircraft fleet. The company announced that the final day of service from Colombo to Singapore to be the 27th of October 2018, while the air route from Singapore to Colombo will depart on the 28th of October 2018. According to Emirates, passengers with flights originating from Dubai or Singapore with a layover in Colombo will be rebooked onto alternative flights. The airline added that accordingly, customers booked only the affected flights between Singapore and Colombo should contact the travel company where their original booking was made for assistance. The communique further stated that Sri Lanka is an important business and a leisure destination for Emirates and will continue to serve the Sri Lankan market directly from Dubai.
Dull sentiment continued in the market to close in a red for the fifth consecutive day at nearly 5-week low, weighted down by John Keells and Selangor Insurance. All share price index had a volatile movement, reaching an intraday high of 6,101 during the first half of recording and intraday low of 6,084 in the latter part of day, closing the day losing 3 points. Turnover improved more than 2 floats compared to yesterday's, with a nearly 62% were derived from John Keells. The net foreign outflow for witnessing for the second consecutive day, it's mainly from foreign selling continued to seen in John Keells.
Well, that was Sri Ranganachadan from First Capital Holdings with your market update. But the Colombo bourse were lower at the close today as losses in the information technology, trading and healthcare sectors propelled shares lower. At the close, the all share price index declined 0.5% to hit a new 1-month low. Now take a look at your exchange rates today. The Sri Lankan rupee hit an all-time low for a second straight session on Thursday as importers bought dollars amid fears the local currency could depreciate further, tracking weakness in emerging market currencies. Absence of dollar conversions by exporters and remittances also weighed in on the market. The rupee fell to a record 160 rupees and 55 cents per dollar, surpassing the previous live flow of 160 to 30 cents hit on Wednesday. It closed at 160 rupees and 35 to 50 cents. With that, let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies around the world. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, known for hits like Respect and Think, has died in Detroit at the age of 76. The legendary singer was diagnosed with cancer in 2010 and announced last year she was retiring from music. Franklin had more than 20 US #1s over a career spanning 7 decades. She gave a final performance last November at a gala in New York held in aid of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. In a statement, her family said, "In one of the darkest moments of our lives, we are not able to find the appropriate words to express the pain in our heart." The family also confirmed that death was due to advanced pancreatic cancer of the neurochronic type. More than 300 news outlets have launched a campaign to counter President Donald Trump's attacks and promote a free press. The Boston Globe made a call last week for a nationwide denouncement of the president's dirty war against the media using the hashtag #EnemyOfNone. Trump has derided media reports as fake news and attacks journalists as enemies of the people. UN experts have said this raises the risk of violence against journalists. The Boston Globe had pledged to write an editorial on the dangers of the administration's assault on the press on 16th of August and asked others to do the same. The initial positive response from 100 news organizations has grown closer to 350, with major US national newspapers and smaller local outlets answering the call, along with international publications like the UK newspaper The Guardian. The Wall Street Journal, however, declined to take part. An earlier piece by James Freeman argued Mr. Trump was entitled to free speech, and the Globe's drive ran counter to the very independence it was seeking. Former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee died aged 93 today. He was being treated for age-related illness in Delhi's AIIMS hospital. Vajpayee was one of the founding members of the Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, which currently governs India. Considered a giant of Indian politics, he served as Prime Minister 3 times between 1996 and 2004 and was instrumental in making India a global nuclear power. During his second stint as Prime Minister in 1998, he surprised the world by announcing that India has conducted a series of underground nuclear tests. In India, he was hailed as a hero, and it helped him bolster his image as a leader who was serious about national security and not afraid of international pressure. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump moved to penalize a sharp critic today, revoking the security clearance of Obama-era CIA Director John Brennan for making what he called, quote, a series of unfounded and outrageous allegations, unquote, about his administration. The Republican president, in a statement read to reporters by White House spokesman Sarah Sanders, also announced he was evaluating whether other former high-ranking officials, all of whom have criticized him, should have their security clearances withdrawn as well.
Mr. Brennan's line and recent conduct, characterized by increasingly frenzied commentary, is wholly inconsistent with access to the nation's most closely held secrets and facilities, the very aim of our adversaries, which is to sow division and chaos. More broadly, the issue of Mr. Brennan's security clearance raises larger questions about the practice of former officials maintaining access to our nation's most sensitive secrets long after their time in government has ended.
The decision came a day after Brennan, who headed the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency under Democratic President Barack Obama, leveled a blistering attack against Trump for the president's tweeted criticisms of former White House aide Omarosa Manigault-Newman. The decision came a day after Brennan, who headed the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency under Democratic President Barack Obama, leveled a blistering attack against Trump for the president's tweeted criticism of former White House aide Omarosa Manigault-Newman, who wrote a book critical of Trump. Taking to Twitter following the announcement, Brennan wrote, "This action is part of a broad effort by Trump to suppress freedom of speech and punish critics, and his principles are worth far more than clearances," adding that he will not relent. Trump also added that he was also reviewing the security clearances of several other former ranking government officials with a view towards revoking them.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Tharana 24/7.
Manusha Jayadilika is at the Other Tharana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening everyone, and welcome to Forecast First. Those who are in the northern and eastern provinces of the island will have to brace for some scorching temperatures, with the highest temperature of 35 degrees Celsius expected in Mullaitivu and Ampara districts. As usual, the central province will be much milder, with the lowest temperature of 20 degrees Celsius expected in the province. Moving on to rain forecast now. Other than Jaffna, districts in upper region of the country are going to have some sunny weather conditions during the day tomorrow. But there will be showers in lower region of the country, with thunder showers forecast for Kandy, Colombo and Galle. That's all that we have from the weather center tonight. Let's now take a look at your city by city forecast.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9 for tonight. But before we go, we'd like to leave you with visuals of Ohio, which is a rural village located in Badula district in close proximity to the Houghton Plains National Park. The picturesque Colombo-Badula Railway runs through Ohio village, making it one of the most beloved destinations for nature lovers. Take a moment to enjoy the natural beauty of our country. We hope you enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Tharana 24/7.